What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mike Check Podcast. This is T Word, the People's Champ. Thanks for tapping in. Today, we're going to do a boxing recap of the Benavidez versus Plant Undercard, the televised portion. We're going to talk about Cody Crowley, Chris Colbert, as well as Jesus Ramos. But before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We truly appreciate your feedback. So, without delay, let's get into it. All right, first up, we're going to talk about Cody Crowley. He has a really good fight. He actually went toe-to-toe with his opponent, went the distance, and I thought that he put on a good showing for himself. He's trying to make a case as one of the better welterweights in the world, and I think he's positioning himself to get a fight at the champions, whoever that may be, at some point in the next year or so. This fight was supposed to be a bit of a step up. I don't know that it exactly was a step up, but he definitely made it look very competitive. He was facing Abel Ramos, an older fighter. I don't know if you would say gatekeeper at this point, more of a journeyman. And I thought that you got to see the best versions of Crowley. I think he controlled the fight. He did everything he needed to do to come out victorious on the cards. Next up was Chris Colbert versus Jose Valenzuela, aka El Rayo, but I'm going to save that one for later because I have some additional thoughts beyond the fight itself. Okay, so let's jump into what turned out to be the co-main, Jesus Ramos versus Joey Spencer. And you could really see this is a 154-pound fight, and Joey Spencer just doesn't physically have a 154-pound look to him. Ramos looked very calm, very conditioned for the fight. I mean, very chiseled. Both look in really good shape, but there's a significant difference. You could tell these dudes probably shouldn't be in the same weight class together, with Ramos looking like a really true 154 guy. It wasn't a good fight at all. This was a severe beating by Ramos that he put on Spencer, and it was from wire to wire, from the beginning of the fight, early knockdown, right through the late round stoppage, where Ramos was kind of in there looking like he was sparring, and his sparring partner was put in the ring to help him work on a particular skill. There were points in the fight where Ramos would go into the high guard, he would get nose to nose with Spencer, and he would just stand there and kind of wiggle his body side to side, just kind of rotate side to side, and then let off 4 or 5 shots unanswered. And then he'd step back, reset, and go in and do the exact same thing. This sequence occurred a few times throughout the fight. And in my opinion, if I'm in his corner, I'm not going to let a guy style on my fighter like that. I mean, this was very, very much styling on him. And Ramos did that several times throughout the fight before the stoppage actually happened. To his credit, Spencer was very game. It seems like he gave everything he had. Unfortunately, with this particular opponent, it just wasn't enough to be competitive. And sometimes you're just overmatched, and this was it. There was a significant power difference, speed difference, agility difference. You just had like I can't even say he's an A-class fighter. You had a B-class fighter versus a D-class fighter. That's what it looked like to me. A guy who's skilled and good at a few things, but he looked like he was amazing at those things when you put him in with this particular opponent. So this was definitely a showcase fight right before the main event, and you get a stoppage. So that's kind of what you're looking for to warm the crowd up, something all action. But what it turns out is that the fight prior to this one, Chris Colbert versus Jose Valenzuela, you have prime time against El Rayo. And this was probably more action-packed and it definitely was more action-packed and competitive because it wasn't one-way traffic, even if I feel like it still was a bit of a lopsided win. So Colbert and Valenzuela go toe-to-toe. 10-rounder is 135 pounds. This is Colbert first time at the weight class. They're both coming off losses to very tough Hispanic opponents. You had El Rayo had just lost to Edwin De Los Santos, and then you had Hector Luis Garcia is who beat Chris Colbert. So you had two really tough guys who took fights on short notice and actually upset the favorites. That being said, both these guys were looking for an opportunity to get back in the win column. And I thought before the fight, I said this, I thought it was a little bit more important for Chris Colbert to get back in the win column because he's been talking a lot of smack. He's very flashy. If he was to lose 2 back-to-back, this could mean a very swift downward spiral for him, whereas El Rayo could actually recover. And now that's a reality. Just to get into the fight, I thought that after getting knocked down in the first round, Chris Colbert was able to take control of a lot of elements of the fight. He dictated ring position. He was first to get off shots. You know, he led with the jab, and he was able to consistently land a jab jab cross combination to get inside on a regular basis. And he even showed a little bit of inside game. His footwork does still have some issues, but I think a lot of it is he throws off balance punches at times, trying to close ground. When he can find his range, he's very effective. When he has to close ground to connect shots, that's where he gets into trouble footwork wise. You also saw him with a very nice pivot game. He was able to turn El Rayo quite a bit in the fight. And I thought round after round, you'd see one round they come out and like the first round. El Rayo comes out, he's really aggressive. He knocks Cobra down, he wins that round. Even though late in the round, Cobra kind of rallied and gave a showing of himself. In the second round, Cobra was first. Third round, it went back to El Rayo. Fourth round, Cobra was first. What you kind of saw up to the eighth round, I had it 4-4. I had never given any guy back-to-back rounds. In fact, I take that back. I gave, I believe, 5 and 6 to Colbert, and then I had given 7 to Rayo, something like that, but it ended up 4-4. The last 2 rounds, in my opinion, went to Colbert. I thought that he was the first fighter. He looked more polished, and you could tell who the boxer was and who the fighter was. And Colbert's boxing ability won him the fight. With the knockdown, I had it a 1-point victory in favor of Colbert. If somebody had a draw, I couldn't be upset with that because there were some rallies at the end of a couple of rounds that might have swung those rounds in favor of El Rayo. So if that was the way that you scored it, that would be fair. A Rayo victory would have been a little bit ambitious in my opinion, but I still couldn't be mad if it was a close victory. So with the way that the cards turned out, the judges saw it like me. I got on the live stream with Big Blunts and Boxing on Sunday night, and we rewatched the fight, and most of us came to the exact same conclusion that I did the night of the fight. So I knew I wasn't tripping. I was on the stream with AM Sports Media that particular night, and a lot of people in the chat thought I was off my rocker because of the way that I was scoring the fight, but it turns out I was on point with the judges. So kudos to me for understanding how to score a fight. When you look at ring generalship, clean and effective punching, as well as defense, I thought Colbert did a better job of exhibiting all three, and that gave him a very close victory, which would be deserving of a rematch. But like he said after the fight, he's going back down to 30. He's not a natural 135-pounder, so we won't see him against Gervonta Davis or anybody like that unless he goes down to 30, makes a lot of noise, and then comes up for a money grab to fight somebody like Tank or Shakur. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the video. We'd love to get your thoughts. This has been T-Word for the Mic Check Podcast. Until the next time I'm out. Peace.